What's up, everybody? Welcome. I am Alan Johnson with the AJ team, and welcome to our series, Building Wealth Through Real Estate Investing. I'm super excited to do a partnership here with Girani at the Girani Coffee House, and just we've been doing this for a long time, been doing this throughout the area, and we just felt like this is the right place to just park and just to talk a little bit about building wealth. And we know everything that Girani does in the community, and we just felt like this is the right place to talk a little bit about what's been a tremendous value add in our lives and in our business. So, who is Alan Johnson? I'm the CEO of the AJ team at Keller Williams. I've been selling real estate for probably about 18 years, not probably, about 18 years. Have been investing for 17 years. Have been, in this community, doing it for a long time. But my roots start back in Charlottesville, Virginia. My dad has owned real estate for almost 30 plus years, and I've been able to see him build wealth over time. He's fixed and flipped. He's bought and held. He's built ground up construction. And through our real estate sales and our investing up here, and just having such a great mentor and having someone who was patient enough to teach me and just kind of guide me through the process, here I am. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this. This is the first of many episodes. We're going to get through some of the basic things first, and then we got some great interviews that are lined up a little bit down the line with some developers and some people that are doing all different types of things in real estate investing. But I think this is a really, really solid place to start, because this is what everyone's thinking and talking about. So you guys have seen HGTV, you've seen Bravo. I think they've got some flip shows on all types of networks out there. And you guys see that. And I think that's something that has been a value add to what we do. But there's also a different area of real estate, buying and holding, that's not as sexy, that's not as advertised, that I think is about building long-term wealth. So today we're going to talk about the pros, we're going to talk about the cons, we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of both, and we hope that you guys get something out of it. We're a faith-based company, and our mission is to build. Our mission is to teach. So we are going to get rolling. So buying and holding, I think you guys know what buying and holding is, right? Buying a piece of property, holding it for long-term, renting it, developing it, whatever you're going to do, versus fixing and flipping, where you're fixing a property up and flipping it for a profit. Okay. So there are a couple of questions that our clients come and ask us about what's going to be advantageous for them, and I always ask them, the first question is, which is best for this season of your life? So is buying and flipping the best for you for this season of your life, or is buying and holding best for this season of your life? And you got to really do an honest assessment. Do you have time, right? Do you have the team? Do you have the resources? Do you have the capital? Do you have the patience? All those things are things that you need to think about. Understand that seasons change. So this season of life may be that you buy and hold, right? And then the next season of your life may be fixing and flipping. And then you may do some buying and holding. But just really understanding where your season of life is. I think sometimes there are a lot of investors that get out there and they see the first thing and it looks good, and they don't assess where they are in their life, and they end up getting into a bad project, or they end up getting themselves in over their heads. And in the end, it doesn't end up being everything that project or everything that property or investment could be. So the second question we ask all of our clients and all of our friends and our fellow investors, well, what are your long and short-term goals? So your long-term goals, are you looking to build wealth over time? Are you looking to get most of your income later on in life, or later on in the span of the investment? Or are you looking for short-term money right now? Like, I need income. So let's take an example. So if you were to quit your job and you were to go full-time in real estate investing, you would probably have to find some sources of income right now. So that may be buying and flipping versus buying and holding. Well, what if you have a great job right now and you're getting a lot of income and you're already paying Uncle Sam a bunch of taxes, Well, you getting a lot of income right now from fixing and flipping might not make the most sense. It might be a better and more prudent play for you to do a buy and a hold. So just understanding what your long and your short-term goals are. Sometimes you need to sit down and talk to your financial advisor. You need to sit down and talk to your spouse. Sit down and talk to your mentors. And just kind of talk those things out, because those are things that will push you towards this side of investing or to this side of investing. And then last but not least, what's your bandwidth? Like, do you have the energy? Do you have, the resources? Do you have the things that you need to be able to buy and flip a property? Or do you have or don't you have those resources? And maybe you can get into something that's a little bit less capital, a little bit less time, or a little bit less dependent upon having people with you to be able to execute. So these are 3 questions that you need to think about. There was a quote that my former basketball coach at Georgia Mason: begin with the end in mind. And when you're thinking about real estate investing, you need to begin with the end in mind. Think about where you want to be, and then back yourself back into what your plan is. And it's okay for those plans to change. It's okay for someone who's a mentor, someone that cares about you, or someone who's trying to help you get to where you want to go, to say, hey, look, you need to pause on this and you need to go in this. Don't be too proud. Don't be too, how should I put it? Yeah, proud to accept great advice from someone who's looking at the long term of your life and looking at what you're trying to get accomplished. So let's get rolling. All right. So the advantages of fixing and flipping. So the first advantage, you get money right now. So if you're fixing and flipping a property, you're buying it, prayerfully, you are getting to the point where you're renovating it and you're going to sell it. So you get money right now, right? The second advantage, you have a more defined timeline. So you can start buying a property in January, you can be out of the project by June, or out of the project however long it takes for you to get out of the project. You can get your money and you can move on. That's an advantage to some people. Some people may only be in the country for 6 months. Buying and flipping for them is a more prudent plan for them to get what they want to get. Third, less market fluctuation. So the market in 6 months is less likely to fluctuate than a market that's over 5 years or 6 years. You may want to get your money in and get your money out. That's another advantage to fixing and flipping properties. And last but not least, you're done when you're done. When you're done with the project, you can wipe your hand, you can get your money. You got to pay Uncle Sam a little bit on that, whatever that capital gains tax is, but you can just get on to the next project. So, when I'm looking at a project, when it comes to fixing and flipping, those are the things that I'm thinking about. Do I need the income right now? Do I have enough time? Am I going to be here? We sell a bunch of houses in the area. So, maybe I take on a fix and flip during the winter when things are a tad bit slower, when I can, pay a little bit more attention to the project. Less market fluctuations. The market is at the point where I understand it, where I know that I can get what I need to get out of it. So I may look to fix and flip. And then last but not least, you're done when you're done. So those are the advantages to fixing and flipping. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages. Well, I don't necessarily say disadvantages. Let's say challenges or things you need to think about. All right, taxes, right? So when you fix and flip a property, that capital gains, which you make from your profit minus what you put into it, is taxed differently. So if you are in a job where you make great income, where Uncle Sam is already laying it into you, and I know there are a lot of people out there that that's what they're thinking about, maybe fixing and flipping isn't what you want to do. Do you really need more income right now? Do you really need to get another $50,000 or $60,000 on your income when you're already getting taxed at a high rate? All right. Maybe you need to think about buying and holding, right? Because that is taxed very differently. Second, the disadvantage to buying and flipping is a lot more money into the deal. So not only do you have money to purchase the property, however you're going to finance it or you're going to pay cash, but you also have renovations and you also have holding costs. Very, very different than buying and holding a property, right? So those are things that you might want to think about. That's one thing you might want to think about as well. And when you're flipping a property, fixing and flipping a property, management. Do you have the time? Do you have the time to be on site all the time? Do you have the time to follow behind your contractors? Do you have the time to manage the day to day? And really, and what people don't really understand is fixing and flipping a property is a full-time job. Literally, like you have to be there. So project management. Any people out there that are PM, multiply that times how many properties you have out there, how many projects you have out there. There are always things that you need to do. There's logistics that need to happen. There's scheduling that needs to happen. Do you have the bandwidth? Do you have the time to be able to manage those things, right? So let's talk about the advantages of buying and holding. So we own roughly 20 doors here in the Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland area. Excuse me. And when I'm thinking about the advantages of buying and holding, the first thing that comes to mind is monthly cash flow. So I'm the type of person, I like longer money. I don't need all my money right now. By God's grace, we got a wonderful business. We've been doing well at it a long time. I would rather defer some of that income somewhere down the line. So it's worked really, really well for us. So one of the advantages of buying and holding is monthly cash flow. Slow money over time, but it builds up over time. Second thing for us that has been for a tremendous advantage is less taxes. So instead of being taxed short term at a higher rate, you're taxed long term. So it's at a lower rate. So when I'm thinking about owning a property or buying and holding a property, for me, I'm thinking about not only how much money cash flow can we get, but can I reduce the tax liability? Can I stretch that thing out further down the line? And that's really played to our advantage. The other thing that people don't really talk about, people always talk about positive cash flow. They talk about, okay, so when I say positive cash flow, whatever your mortgage is, right, versus what you get for your rent, the difference between that, all your expenses, everything after that, is what I consider positive monthly cash flow. But what people don't talk about is your tenant paying down every month, paying down your mortgage. So every month that tenant, not you, is paying down your mortgage. There are a lot of advantages to that. We've put some houses into 15-year mortgages. We have 2 daughters, 7, and I think we bought quite a few of their properties when they were 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there, and we put them on 15-year mortgages where we got less positive cash flow, but the tenant was paying the mortgage down, and hopefully when they get to college, we'll have those houses paid free and clear, and those will go towards their college or go towards whatever life happens to wherever life happens to steer them after that. So just understand there's a lot of advantages to a tenant, even if you're not getting a lot of monthly cash flow, to a tenant paying down your mortgage. And then last but not least is long-term appreciation. That's a huge advantage when it comes to buying and holding real estate. Over time, so just think about it, over time, if you over 15 years just got something modest like 2% every year, do some math. So if you bought a property for, let's say, $300,000, 2% for 15 years is a lot of money, especially if your tenant is paying down your mortgage, and especially if you get positive monthly cash flow. So there are a lot of advantages to buying and holding. You just have to really figure out, like, what are you trying to get accomplished? Some good people for you to talk to when it comes down to really talking about those advantages. Your financial advisor, your accountant, other people who are investors. Just kind of think about the team that you have around you, so you kind of think about what your what plan of action is going to be best for you. And let's talk about some disadvantages. Not disadvantages, some challenges to buying and holding. Tenants. Let's not get it twisted. Tenants can be a challenge. I've had my fair share of tenants that were challenges. I've had great tenants as well. We've had more tenants, good tenants, than we've had bad tenants. But the bad tenants tend to be the ones that you remember the most. So if you're not good with some challenges and not good with some people with challenging personalities, as I like to say. Just think about that. Maybe buying and holding is not something that's going to be something that's going to be a great investment strategy for you. And property management, managing a property. So managing a property is work. You know, it's not like managing a project where you're buying and flipping, but it is work. And most tenants don't call you when things are going good. They call you when you're the most busy, when you're going on vacation, when you got so many things on your plate, when you're at your kid's recital or dance recital. That's when they call you with an issue. Problems don't happen on your schedule. They happen when they happen. So you just have to be ready to be able to handle those situations. And property managers are good, but for us, we found that managing our own properties has been very, very advantageous. And I think there's an education in managing your own properties that plays into other areas of real estate. So it may be something that fits your palate, but you also have to think about your bandwidth. Are you at the point of your life right now where you can manage your own properties? And maybe you have to outsource that. So just some things to think about. Okay, so let's get to the next slide here. And we're going to have a little bit more of an open discussion. So, think about, what are your goals? What are the things that that you want to get accomplished over a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year? Write those things down. I have a journal. I have a goal sheet. I have things that, that I have in front of me. That just keep me laser-like focused on what I'm trying to get accomplished, because you're not going to find a deal every day, and deals take work. We're looking at literally probably 100 deals before we find a deal that works, and there's work in that. So sometimes you can get discouraged. Sometimes you need to remind yourself of the goal that you have ahead of you. Second, what is your long-term and short-term plan? So make sure you have your team. Make sure you have people around you that you can bounce ideas off of, people that may have been 2 or 3 steps ahead of where you want to be. And then last but not least, what's your bandwidth? Be realistic with yourself. Where are you right now in your life? Where are you? Where do you think you're going to be in 3 to 5 years? Maybe very different than where you are right now. I'm super busy. I got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. I've had to partner with people on real estate deals because I don't have the bandwidth right now to be able to do all the things that I would like to do in real estate investing. So for me, giving up some of the deal to be able to take some of those things off my plate and be able to work on some of the things that are important to us and to our family and to our real estate business make a whole lot of sense. So just think about that. Maybe your bandwidth right now is you can't do it all on your own. Maybe you need to partner with someone. Maybe you need to find someone that you can invest in their deals and get a level of education. And what I find is that when you're honest with yourself, then you can start from a place that can put you going in the right direction. So what other things do we have? Oh, I'm always going to hope to bring you guys some value. So here's a book that I've been reading. It's called Chop Wood and Carry Water. It's a pretty awesome book. I'm a firm believer that we can learn from a lot of different places, a lot of different spaces. So every time we do an episode, I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit about a book that I'm reading. This is a wonderful book. It's got a lot of lessons. I think some lessons that if you have a kid who's in college or a kid that's just out of college, or if you just love to soak up knowledge, it's a really easy read, and I also think it's something that you'll get a lot of value out of. So next episode, what do we have coming up next episode? Oh, if you own a property, I get this question all of the time. Should I rent my property or should I sell my property? So should I turn my property I live in currently into an investment property, or should I sell it and move on? So we're going to tackle that topic. I think there's some things that you guys can think about and some things that you guys can get out of that discussion. And we look forward to continuing to build wealth and building relationships and building community. Alan Johnson with the AJ team. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.